events which led to revolution. The first one over here is Stamp Act Congress. Okay, what happened? The representatives from the 9 colonies of North America, they met in New York, okay, to oppose this stamp tax. You understood what was happening in the stamp tax over here? That official tax or official material which was being used in the court, it had to be of a certain type, okay, and that material you have to buy it from the British, which ranged from 2 pence to 6 pounds. Now this is like something which is too much of exploitation. So Stamp Act Congress starts here, and they say no taxation without representation, and this point, it becomes the hallmark of the American Revolution, and this, it laid the foundation for united colonial protest later. This was the first major incidents we saw. Second thing over here was that Declaratory Act was passed by Rockingham, and he asserted Britain's power to right to legislate in all the cases whatever so possible, and fully empower to impose any kind of taxes on America. Now again, this was a threat of imperialist control, not only colonialists but imperialism. There's a term we will see in further class. One is colonialism, where you go to a certain place and you try to occupy the territories. Now another term of further control over here is imperialism. This means that although you have a colonies over there, but you don't participate in the welfare of the people, and more you just want to exploit the resources. Okay, after this, what happens? Townshend Act was passed by the British government, and it imposed the new duties on the 5 products, and these 5 products were glass, okay, lead, paper, paint, tea. Okay, so colonists, they resisted with non-importation movement. That means there was boycott of all these things. And one of the thinker whose name is John Dickinson, he said in his letters that Americans, they should not follow these rules as these taxes violated their liberty. You understand, in whole world history, we will see one thing, that economy is almost equivalent to the empire, okay? The nation which is more rich in the resources, the nation who accumulates more money somehow is going to stand up amongst all the nations. Okay, why? Because they can very easily get the resources. So what happens now? All this leads to finally an open revolution. First incidence which happens over here is the Boston Massacre. Now protests are taking place in Boston, and this leads to clash of the local colonists with the British soldiers who had been posted there. And these soldiers, they fire on the crowd. Of these, the 5 colonists are killed. Okay. Parliament repealed most of these townshend duties. What were these? We saw above. Lead, okay, glass, paper, tea, paint, but it kept the tax, tea tax. It kept the tea tax. Okay. Now, after this, what happened? The second incident which happened was Boston Tea Party. This is very important incident. Over here, the Parliament's Tea Act led the East India Company to sell the tea cheaply in the colonies, but with tax still attached. And do you notice one thing? Where did the Britishers got this tea? They took it from India, Assam, right? Now the colonists again saw it as a trick to accept the parliament's right to tax. So what happens again in Boston, the members of Son of Liberty, okay, they board the ship, and what do? They throw the whole tea bag into the harbor. Now this Britain renamed as Boston's Night for a protest or a tea riot, and Americans they celebrated it as a blow against the taxation without representation. Now, in context of these two incidences, first one over here is Boston Massacre, second is Boston Tea Party. Now this leads to passage of some of the intolerable acts by the British. Okay, what do? First thing, they decided to put or to punish the people. They decided to put a Boston Port Act. They closed the Boston harbor until the tea was paid for. Okay, so everything was choked. The whole Boston's economy was choked. Now understand, the local man is totally dependent on the economy. It also replaced colonies' elected council with one appointed by the British. Also, there was a Massachusetts Government Act, and this suspended the colonial charter. Okay, any kind of town meetings were not allowed at that point of time under this act. It gave complete sweeping power to the British military governors. Okay, and he was General Thompson Gage. Now understand that they are going to a militarial form of government, or you can say over here that complete control on the rights of the people. Now understand that after this, the royal officials accused in the massacres could be tried in Britain. It is also known as the Murder Act, and a new Quartering Act was passed, and it bordered the powers to quarter the troops on the population. Apart from this, Quebec Act was passed alongside. Okay, where is Quebec? Quebec is basically in Canada region. Now all this was done so that it could dismantle the unity amongst the North American people. Even the Catholic Toleration Act was passed, and these colonists they read it as a design to hem in the Protestant domain or the Protestant self-rule, because mostly the Britishers from English land, they were the followers of Catholic Church, and those who came to US were mostly the followers of Protestant Church. Okay, what was the effect? The colonies they rallied to the Boston. Okay, and a continental response was definitely now